Hello everyone and welcome to Rudy's Retro Intel. On today's show we'll be looking at this Apple II Plus I just got. So let's open it up, see if it works. I'll show you some things that you should look out for when you get an Apple II Plus, and we'll do some testing. So let's get started and peek inside and poke around. Hopefully you stick around. Alright, so we have the Apple II Plus on the bench here. Let's take a look. It's got some scratches on here. It's been used a bit. Looks like it's got scratches, some storage of some kind. But other than that, it looks pretty good. The keyboard looks great. The power light indicator here is, I don't know what it's showing here. The power light indicator here is rubbed off. Maybe we'll fix that up. But before we start, let's open it up, take a look. And yes, it's a standard Apple II Plus inside. It has the additional memory card in here. I did get a bunch of cards. We got a CPM card, we got another CPM card, we got, let's see what else we got. I got modem cards, I got 80 column card. So we'll look at those later, but let's first make sure that the computer is working. And but before we plug it in, the first thing I like to do is open up the case, take the board out, open up the power supply, and make sure that the power supply has those reefer caps. Those capacitors are notorious to blow up and cause smoke. It doesn't damage anything, but it makes a nasty smell and smoke. But we want to open that up, make sure they're if they're there, we replace them or remove them. In a lot of cases, you don't need them. They're just a filter for the noise on the power. But yeah, it's a good thing to replace them since you have it open. So let's take this apart and get into the power supply and take a look before we power everything on. So I'm going to first pull out this language card. This is additional memory card. So let's pull that out. And there we go. So this is the language card. What it is just provides additional memory to your Apple computer. And what it does is you have to plug in this cable. So you pull out the memory chip off the board here, and you plug this cable in, and then you put the memory on this card here. That pops in and you get additional memory and functionality, which we'll get into a little bit later. But let's pull that out for now and turn this over and start pulling out the case. This computer is the from Apple. It's the A2S1048. I believe that's 48K. Serial number is 215895, and it's coming from California. So let's open it up, take a look, see what we can find inside. All right, with the screws off now, we can hopefully take this case out or off. This should just pop right up. There is a, let me see, get that into the view of the camera here. So the keyboard plugs in. There's a connector here that goes into the keyboard, so that unplugs. And there's also a cable here. There's a cable here that was connected. This is for the RF modulator that plugs on the board, but we're not using that, so let's take that out and put that aside. And we have the computer speaker. Now, when I first get a computer like this, I like to do a test in the sense that I like to make sure all the chips are pushed down. This should be really done on well, let's take this out because we have to take the power supply out. So let me back up a bit. The chips on computers, when they're socketed, they can get loose, and so the best thing to do is make sure pull the boards out, whatever, if it's a card or computer motherboard, whatever, and press all the chips. Make sure they're making good contact. If they look dirty, then pull them out, put some contact cleaner of whatever your choice, and then spray them, put them back in so that it's making good contact. And then we'll also visit this connector here. This is a video connector for the output, and there's some cases where this gets loose, and we'll fix that. I've done a video on that if you want to check older videos, and this is the most common issue with video on the Apple computers, on the Apple II Plus, 2E, I believe even on the 2C. So let's pull this power supply out. And the power supply is now out. So let's put this to the side. Looks like someone has been here before. There is some tape. This tape is not a standard. It's not standard. Oh, someone's definitely been in here because there's 2 screws missing. Let's put that tape aside, and yeah, let's start pulling out these screws. Okay, the top just popped open. Let's take a look inside here. I've turned this on before just to make sure it's working. Let's see here. The reefer caps are not in here, so they've been replaced. Yeah, everything looks like it's good. Clean, no issues. So yeah, you would find the reefer caps over here. The fuse looks good. So yeah, quick view, and let's put it back, and then I'm gonna take the meter out. We're gonna test the voltages on, and then put it back onto the Apple II, and we'll give it a test. Okay, so the Apple is the power supply is back together. On the, let me see if I can show this. On the original Apple power supplies, you don't really find this on the clones. You do find on some clones, but generally you don't. It's got markings here as to the pins of the connector and the power. So you have your common, which is your common. You have your +5, +12, -12, and -5, and it has the corresponding numbers so you can see which ones to check. So we're going to plug this in, and then we're going to take our multimeter and give it a check it out. So let's pull the meter out. Now I apologize for the camera here. It's kind of a difficult setup, but I'm going to just plug one in there, and then we're going to plug one in there. We're getting 5 volts DC. Can you see that? We're getting 5 volts DC there. We're getting -12, -5, and +12. It's a little bit high, but it's okay because there's no load on the thing. So it looks like the power supply is working. Now I'm going to pull out the actual motherboard. We're going to reseat the chips and then plug it in and see if it works. So to pull out the motherboard, there's some clips. Let's pull out the speaker. There's some clips that you just pinch, and then it should release it will release the grip on it. There's also some screws. There's a screw there we can take out. So I'm going to take out these back screws. Let's move the power supply. There's some back screws here. There's another one in the middle. Actually, there's several of them. These are bigger screws than you'd find on the case, so you know they go on the back. My magnetic tip is not working today. That's fine. Let's see if we can get these opened. Now these clips are a pain. I find are a pain because they don't always come undone. Oh, pardon the angle here. Alright, that's two there. And there's one in the middle here. One in the back. All right, so this is the motherboard. It's out. Now, with these clips, you have to be careful when you're pinching the top of the clip so you can remove the board. Be careful. Don't go right down on the board, because if you go down on the board and you're trying to grab it, you could scratch a trace on the motherboard and damaging it. So be very careful with doing that, and you'll be okay. So let's pull the board out, put it on the bench, drop some things, make some noise. All right, so now the motherboard is on here. Let's take a look at the bottom. Bottom looks great. There's no bodge wires. It doesn't look like it's been fixed. There is one bodge wire here, but it looks very clean. Looks factory. So what do we do now? So what I'm going to do now is just go over all the ICs and press them down. You want to make sure that they're all making good connection. You can hear it sort of crunch a little bit. That means that that they're making contact again. They're probably a little loose in the socket. They should be making any noise, but let's just make sure that they're all nice in. The heat from the motherboard over time can, that one just clicked, can loosen the ICs. They get hot, they get cold, then they move up and down, and we get problems and issues. So let's so we have this all together, or the board is ready to go. Our power supply is ready to go, so let's plug that in. Now the power supply goes on one way only, so you can't mess that up. This one goes this way. Okay, so I finally got it in. I couldn't see very well, but I got it in. Now what we're going to do next, clean the bench here a bit, make sure there's nothing on the bench that's going to short out the board. Let's pop that up. Now we're going to check this connector. This connector looks good. It's not loose. So let's put on the video and we'll hook up the power. Okay, so we're going to do our first test. And let's see, do we have picture? Yes, we do. We do have a picture. Wow, that's cool. So it is working. Yay. Awesome. So, and it looks clear. Maybe a little bit adjustment needs to be done to it. We're not seeing it on this screen, but you can, I'll show you in a bit. So it's working. The power supply looks okay. The motherboard seems okay. We are getting a prompt come up. Now let's do one more power test on the motherboard, and then we'll continue from there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in my monitoring board I have here. I made a video on it. It basically allows us to plug into the slot and check to see for voltages and other interesting things on your computer. This will work with a 2 plus and a 2E. So I'm going to plug this into slot 7, and I'm going to put it like that so you can see. And let's power it up. And as we see, we got information showing up on here. We can see we have the plus 12 is 11.9, minus 12 is 12.2, minus 5 is minus 5.23, and plus 5 is 4.96. These are close, not 100%, a little bit off. But I think close enough. See, there we go. 5 volts is showing us 5 volts now. So the power supply is settling down. Let's power this off and power it on again. Let's see if we're getting the voltages. Yes, we are getting the voltages. The 5 volt is exactly 5 volts. It looks good. And yeah, I think we're ready for the next step, which is plug it back into the case. We're going to, excuse me, we're going to plug it back into the case and check out the cards and hook up floppy drive, keyboard, and see if it's working. Let's get to that next. All right, we have the Apple computer back together again. I've plugged the power supply in, the speaker is in, and we're ready to go. But before I start, I want to spray some deoxit into the slots because they look dirty, so I'm going to spray a little bit of that. Now, with this, with the contact cleaner, you want to make sure you get in the slot because you're pulling cards in and out, and so they get dirty and dusty over time. So let's put that in, give it a moment to seep in, and then we're going to plug in. Now, I have my floppy drive controller with my drive. This is the regular standard Apple II drive, or the Disk 2 drive. We can see there, and I'm going to plug this in. This goes into slot number 6. So it's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So this is slot 0. This is where the memory card would go in. So let us first see if we can boot up. I'm going to try to boot up this Apple Cylinder. It's a diagnostic software, so we're going to pop that in to the drive, and we're going to turn it on. Let's get video. All right, let's turn it on, and it's booting. It's trying to do its thing, and here we go. We have the Apple Cylinder. Let's see. There we go. We have the Apple Cylinder software. Now you'll have to pardon the jittery. It's my capture card. I don't know. It's acting up. So let's do a RAM test. Let's try that first, and we're gonna do motherboard A. We're gonna do the motherboard low address range. We'll run that, and we're going to press S to start, and as we can see, it is going to go through and check the memory from 0000 to 1FFF, and it's counting up, and it's gone through. So looks like no errors so far. It's run it a couple of times, third time going through, and looks good. So let's escape out of that, and then we'll do another RAM test. And we're going to go to number 1, and we're going to do the high, which is B. So we select B. Then we type S to start, as we go from 2000 to BFFF. And it's going at 5, 6, 7. Oh, and we did find some errors at 8,000 here. So it looks like there's some, it could be because the additional card, let me go back and show you. So let's stop this test, and I'm going to pause the, all right, so on the computer we have an empty IC here. This is the IC that's plugged in. You pull it out, you put it on your memory card, and you pop that in, and it allows you to get the extra additional memory. So let's take the card, and I'm going to push down on all the ICs, make sure they're all nicely seated, including the ribbon cable. And then we're going to make sure that looks clean. Yep. So we're going to pop that in. Now first you want to plug in the ribbon cable, and the red line is marked as pin 1, so we're going to pop that in. Usually these cables are they kind of crimp, and they have kind of like a memory, so you know which way it goes in. So let's plug that in. And I'm going to plug drop it in there. And then we're going to, let's turn on the camera and give it a boot. I'm going to boot back into the diagnostics again. I'm going to switch cameras. Oops. There we go. And look, the video's kind of better now. I don't know. So we're going to go 1. I'm going to do memory. We're going to do the B again. Let's see if the errors show up on here now. We'll let it run. So the card, like it says, additional memory on it, yeah, it goes into slot 0. They always go into slot 0. Now, while that's doing its test, I'm going to show you another card here while it's running. Now, this card is a clone card of the memory card for additional memory. Now, this one does not require the cable, so you don't have to put the cable in. So what you do is you put your RAM back on the motherboard, that one IC back on the motherboard, and you plug this in. And I like it because there's no ribbon cable to worry about or get pinched or whatever. And yeah, I like it. It's really cool. So we're going to be putting this in later. Let's test, make sure the memory is good first on here. Let it run through while I do push all the ICs down on here, and let's see if it gets the error at 8,000. Nope, it's going through, and we're at 9A, and then B, and then we're going to cycle back around to 2. So it's gone back around and everything looks good. So we are going to stop that, and we'll plug this card in later. We'll test this out later. Okay, so so far so good. Let's do additional test on this. And I'm going to switch over to here. We're going to do the ROM test number 2. And then you want to do motherboard, ROM, slot 0. So let's do the motherboard first and make sure that it's all good. And we press S to start. And now it's going to go and identify each ROM. As you can see here, D000, Applesoft, D800 is Applesoft. And it shows you the location of 00, B7, E4 on the motherboard, so you'll know which one is good or bad. And it's going through all of them. And I believe this is the last one, which is the auto start, which is F800. And yeah, it looks good. So let's escape out of this. Press any key. For other tests, peripheral cards, keyboard. Let's do the keyboard. Make sure the keys work. Okay, we're gonna do. Now it's beep because I'm hitting it again. So if I hit 8, it goes. If I hit again, it beeps. Looks good. We have to press escape a couple of times to get out of the test. And yeah, so that is Apple Cylin. Now let's try another diagnostic software called the Apple Confidence Disk. So let's turn that off, turn that back on, and see what we get here. So machine status. Oh, A to accept. Escape. A. So it's saying machine status normal is coming out of the speaker. And we have, yeah, I'm not going to unplug it, but I wish there was a way to make it be quiet. But slot 6 is the controller card, slot 0 is the language card, and it tells the drive, 48K, everything's good. Alright, let's escape out of this because it's quite annoying. Let's do memory test. Oops. You have to put A for accept. And it's going to be testing. test. It is testing stack 0 page, now the RAM, and then the language card. So the RAM is on the motherboard, and then the language card is the additional card in slot 0. So far so good. This is great. I'm very happy. The computer is great. It's like an original. I've never had an Apple II Plus, original Apple II Plus. Growing up, my first computer was an Apple II Plus clone because I couldn't afford the price tag on the Apple II Plus, but now I have one, so this is great. So it looks very clean, it looks very good, everything seems to be passing. Let's go, let's do video. Let's do a video test. Let's see what it looks like on video. Yeah, I'm very happy with this machine. Other than the scratches, everything's great. The motherboard is clean, power supply is good. So you want to accept, press A, and it's doing some video. All looks good. So we're good for now. The computer is working. We have the drive working, or yeah, it's working. The language card is working, so all the memory is good. ROM tests are good. Everything seems good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up this video now, but stay tuned for the next one, because the next one will be testing a whole bunch of different cards and seeing how they work. Do they work? Do they not work? Do I have to repair? If we do, we'll do a repair video, and yeah, we'll go from there. And I want to thank you for watching the video. Thank you to all my Patreon subscribers that are showing up on here. If you'd like to join Patreon, just check the link below. Hopefully give the video a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.